Are you here? Tell me you're here. I'm going to be watching to see when you arrive. I know it's weird because I didn't get to see you last week, so I feel a little like I'm lost. But I'm here. Is anybody else here? If you are here,
like I'm lost.
No, that's right.
But I'm here. Is anybody else here?
Once again, I forgot all the steps. Okay, Debbie Johnson is here. Thank you, Debbie. I'm here and Pam is here. Great, great. All right. I have good things to share with you today. Some good stuff. So I've been in Washington last weekend. What a fun trip that was. Let me tell you, So Expo is amazing. Totally amazing. What an experience that was. Hi, Valerie. Valerie, it's really late for you. But thanks for joining us. I got to turn my ping pong balls off. Okay, I always forget that one. You guys don't even know what that is, do you? But it makes a funny sound. Let's see. Okay, So Expo last weekend was so fantastic. And I wanted to just put it on live the whole time, but then I was working and I couldn't. We were so busy. It was nice to see people out and going places again because it has been kind of a long couple of years, hasn't it? And this was the first one they've had back since COVID. So we're just happy to have it back on the books again. And really, people were there. They were finding new things. They were buying stuff. I was buying stuff. I really did. The booth across the aisle from us, you know, that's the one you watch all day, right? Is the one right across the aisle from you. And even though we were busy, they were busy too. And it was kind of fun to watch what they were doing because they were selling the coolest hats. And I love hats. I don't ever wear them, but I love them. I wish I could wear them. I wish I would. If I did, I'd look like a boy, so I don't. Anyway, they had these hats that they had made out of, well, let me back up a little bit. They had fabrics that were made by rescued girls from trafficking. So these girls, and they had pictures of them, and they were from all over different countries. India was one of them. And they would make this fabric. And so I should show you some of it. Okay, I'm going to switch it over here while I jump out of the way. I want to show you what I got. I'll be right back. All right. So let me show you what I have here, because this really is amazing. All right, so these are fabrics. This one looks like a silk piece, but what they do is they felt other fabrics into it. And you're probably wondering, what am I going to make with that? Yeah, my mind started wandering. I thought I could embellish with these pieces, but look, if you could feel this, this is thick. This is beautiful. So I bought several bags of the scraps, and I also bought some silk from India. But look at that. They have just taken and felted these pieces together, and they had made hats out of this. So they'd take this fabric and felt it together and make a hat. I don't know how they did it, but I thought it was amazing. And I like to support things like that. I think that's really important for us to support worldwide, right? I just loved it. And you can see this is a piece of silk that they have put on something else. And it's just all felted together. I also bought about, you'll think I'm crazy, but it was like 5 yards of fabric, but it was pure silk from, and they said it was reclaimed silk. So it was what the India people ladies would, a suri. And I thought, well, I had another name too, but a suri is where they wrap that fabric all around them. So what they would do is that the girls would make hats and cloaks and all sorts of things out of this reclaimed fabric, and they would sell it to the ladies, and they would buy their silk saris from them. And so they weren't brand new. There's parts that are kind of tattered, but it's just like 5 yards of this beautiful silk. You just can't even imagine how pretty it is. And anyway, that was the booth across from me. It was really, really fun. I liked doing that. So if you ever get a chance to support things like that, I go for it. I totally do. I think last year when I went to another one, I guess I'm this way. I bought some rings from another place where they rescued people. I don't know. I just did. All right. You know, I've been showing all the snow we've been getting out here. In my backyard right now, there's 3 feet of snow. So the lawn chairs are covered. There's no lawn chair there. The tables are covered. And the trampoline, the snow goes right up to the bottom of the trampoline. It's that deep. And so in our driveway where we've sprayed the snow out of the driveway, you know, snow blowed it, you can't see over the top of the sides because the snow is that deep. Can you imagine that? Do any of you have that kind of snow? Or are you waiting to get it? Oh, Debbie said she's driving home from the Florida shop hop. So Heidi, did you buy some of that too? I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet. Heidi was at the Sew Expo. I totally loved it. Did you love those hats? Didn't you want one of those hats? I did. I'm just reading your comments. I love that you're all here. Heidi says, Valerie, I loved your project. I loved your project too, Valerie. It was great. You did a great job. I haven't finished mine since we finished the class. I stopped right there and I didn't finish it. Maybe I'll finish it one day. So Barbara Eckhart says it's snowing now and we are to get 4 to 7 inches by tomorrow afternoon. Darn, we're supposed to get rain tomorrow. When all this starts to melt, we're going to have a boat because there's not going to be room for us to get around. I know it's going to go into my basement. It's going to go into my neighbor's basement, and it's going to be kind of a mess. So we're going to have to get the sandbags out. I don't live on a low plain, so I'm not worried about the rivers flooding me. But the snow right around me, that could be an issue. But 3 feet of snow. Do you know how long 3 feet is? Think of a yard of fabric. That's how tall my snow is. Is that amazing? I mean, it's beautiful. It's white. And today the skies are kind of blue. They said it's supposed to get a little warmer tomorrow and rain instead of snow. So we'll see how that works. Well, Heidi, if you're getting rain tomorrow, does that mean we're going to get it after you and it's going to be snow? I don't know. Oh, 66 in Florida for Debbie. I'll tell you, if it were 66 here, we'd be dying right now. Oh, Heidi, I'm going to tell you about my chickens. You are going to love this, okay? Because I want you to know this all came about innocently. I have a hard time remembering punchlines in the first place. So when I tell you this story, I didn't even know it was a joke. Okay, I didn't even know there was a punchline to it. So I've had one chicken that likes to bark, and her quack quack, no, whatever chickens say, I can't say it, it's not a duck, is different than the others. She kind of barks, and not all the time, but sometimes she'll just let out a bark. You'd think there was a dog in there. Well, I've never known which chicken was the barker until yesterday. Yesterday, I was in the coop, and I turned around, and that chicken barked at me, and I thought, that's Bob. Bob! She's the one. And so as I walked out of the coop, I thought, now I'm going to remember who's the barker. It's Bob. Bob Barker. Did you like that? All right, it's true. I didn't even know I'd said it. Bob Barker. So we have a Bob Barker. Now, do you remember why I named Bob Bob? Because she didn't have much of a tail when she was born. Her tail was flatter than everybody else. They had all tails that stuck up, but so I called her Bobbed because her tail was bobbed, right? And now she's Bob Barker. She's one of my favorite. I totally love her. All right. Nobody enjoyed that, huh? Oh, I do have a couple of jokes for you. You ready? Seems I blow the punchlines. What does a duck say when he buys his chapstick? What did the duck say when he bought his chapstick? Just put it on my bill. Was that good? Just put it on my bill? Okay. Thank you, Barbara. I like the Bob Barker one. Now we'll know. She has it, the only one with the last name. All right, here's another one. Are people in Hawaii allowed? No. Do they allow loud laughing in Hawaii? See, I blow the punchlines. I blow everything of it. All right. Are they allowed to Are they allowed to laugh loud in Hawaii? Or is it just aloha? Pause after that one. Or is it just aloha? Okay, I didn't blow the punchline on that one. I blew the rest of it. Okay, I found something yesterday that is amazingly good. And I don't know where in the country you can get them. I know we can get them here about this time of year. And it's cotton candy grapes. Have you ever tasted cotton candy grapes? Please tell me, have you? Yes or no? Cotton candy grapes. They are so sweet, and they actually do taste like cotton candy. If you have to watch for them. Like, we'll have them for a couple of weeks and then they're gone, and we don't get them anymore. They're just like one time a year. So Linda, you've tasted them? Oh, they are so good. Isla, if you haven't, Heidi, search out cotton candy grapes. They're green grapes, but they taste like cotton candy. It's amazing. They are so good. Ginger's tasted them. Oh, Debbie said they're too sweet for her. I'm sorry. I'm not a tart person. I like my things sweet. So maybe that's why I like them. In fact, right now, I can smell something. You guys can't smell it. This isn't going to work, right? But my husband's downstairs cooking dinner. He gets so hungry that he finally just cooks it. I had a lady in a class once, and I was showing her really this top of the line machine, and I was so excited because I just loved it. At the time, I think it was a Crescendo. And I said, if you're familiar with what that is, that would be the chorus right now for the Baby Lock line. But it was the top of the line sewing. We didn't even have the Solaris out then. We had the Destiny, but this was top of the line sewing, and I love that machine. I still love it. And I said, this machine will do everything but cook dinner. And she says, no, because this was a class where people owned those machines. And she said, it cooks my dinner. I said, how so? And she said, because every time I sit down to sew, my husband knows I'm going to be there forever, and he goes and cooks dinner. So if my husband, also known as the greatest cook in our house, comes walking in with my food, you guys won't mind if I eat right now, right? It smells really good. Okay, Isla, search out those cotton candy grapes. I'll tell you, if you like sweet stuff, it will be worth it. Okay, let's get down to business. I'm from the mailbag, and the reason I'm from the mailbag is that I've just been in Washington, and we sold so many Sergers, you can't believe it. People were lined up to look at the Sergers. Everybody else was really busy too, but we had sometimes 3 deep waiting for a turn to sit at the Serger and drive it for a minute. We sold a lot of Sergers, and people are saying, I love this machine. And really the first thing that I said when I got my Serger, my first one, was, why did I wait so long? But I remember thinking as I was getting into sewing and thinking, because I had a sewing machine that I'd had since my kids were little, and I didn't like it, and I needed a new sewing machine, but I thought, do I get a sewing machine? Do I get a Serger? What's the difference? Well, you have to have a sewing machine, and we've talked about the tools that my husband has, or your husband's, or you. I love tools, by the way. I could get lost in Lowe's or Home Depot. I love them. In fact, people accuse me of marrying my husband because of his tools, because I wanted his tools. I was big into saws and drills and all things like that. But you have a saw, you have a drill. They don't do the same thing. You can't cut wood with a drill, and you can't drill a hole with a saw. It's the same thing. You have a sewing machine that does beautiful stitches and all sorts of stitches, many, many stitches. And then you have a serger that finishes your edges and gives you great creative possibilities with all that you can do with it. Besides, you can piece a quilt with it in no time flat. It is pretty darn fast. All right, so that's the difference between a serger and a sewing machine. But a lot of people are afraid of the Sergers unless they see it running and they think, okay, I can do that. Well, you can't do that. It looks like an industrial machine because it really was an industrial machine until Baby Lock brought it to the market. And by the way, if you didn't know, that's how Baby Lock got its name. When I first heard about Baby Lock, I thought, what a weird name. But their first machine they brought to the market was Baby Lock. It was an overlock machine, so that was their baby. Thus, they became Baby Lock, and now they've got sewing machines and sashikos, and they had embellishers, and they've got embroidery machines, all sorts of things. But they really stick with that, with us in mind. They don't go out and make saws, and they don't make snow blowers. They really just do the home sewing and all this decorative stuff we can do. So we should be thankful to them. In fact, I was in Japan once, and when I got over there, I thought, well, this is where the factory is. I work for Baby Lock. I want to see the factory. Found out you can't just go drop in and see the factory. You have to have an appointment. And in the short time that I had as my window to go look at their factory, I didn't have enough time. So I didn't get to see their factory. Maybe I'll go back. All right, let's talk about the Sergers. Let's go right over there. Hi, Gayla. I'm going to read your comments for just a second. All right. So I'm going to talk about the differences between an overlock machine and a cover stitch, because they're both sergers, but people think that a serger is only overlock. It is not. So you can see this one right here. This is a 4-thread overlock, and that means it's going to do the edge of the fabrics. It's going to be a seam finisher pretty much. You're not going to do decorative. Actually, I'm going to show you where I used it in a decorative stitch. But most of the time, it's just going to be sewing on the edge of your fabric, unless you do a flat lock, and that will be on the inside. But this one will do flat lock and blanket and rolled hem and rolled edge and 3-thread overlock and 4-thread overlock, because you can see I've got 4 threads up here. But I can sew with as little as 2 threads, so I don't have to use all 4. This one is a Celebrate. It is an air threading, has a pump right here. It does have tension dials, but it does come with a great threading guide that walks you through everything you need to know. And these machines sew really fast. They don't have to. You can go as slow as you want to. In fact, a Serger stitch is prettier when you go a little bit slower and steady. I mean, you can go fast as long as you're doing it steady. When you stop and start and stop and start, then it gets a little jumpy, and you don't really want that. All right, and please ask me questions if you have any questions along the way. And if you have a Serger, raise your hand. I wish I could see you raise your hand. Because really, when I first got mine, I thought, why did I wait so long? This is amazing. And the more I learn about it, the more I love it. All right, this will just do those edging stitches that I showed you about. That's it. And I'm going to show you some samples over there in just a minute. And she doesn't weigh very much. And then this guy over here really doesn't weigh very much either, but this one is an overlocker. Besides, it is a cover and chain. So this has 2 machines in once. You could buy just an overlocker, or just the overlocker, which is just the serger that I showed you, and then cover and chain in 2 separate machines, or you could have it in one. It really depends on how you want that to be done. And right here, I can put 8 threads up there. Can you see all those cone spaces up there? I have all of these areas right here I can put threads in. So this does it will do all those overlock stitches that you saw with the other machine, but this one does the cover and chain also. Now the cover and the chain stitch, they're 2 different stitches, cover and chain. People will say them together and you'll think, well, is that one stitch? No, cover stitch is a stitch where you're going to have at least 2 needles in. I like to sew with 3 needles. So those 2 needles will be your needle stitches on the front of your fabric, and on the back you've got a looper that just loops back and forth between those 2. So in overlock stitches, you've got an upper looper and a lower looper that go like this. And so the upper looper's on the top of your fabric and the lower looper's on the bottom. But this one, your cover stitch is on the bottom. It's underneath. So it is hooking between all of those threads. All right, that's what that does. Or you can have just a chain stitch. And that means you've got one needle and one looper. And it's just making pretty much a sewing stitch, a straight sewing stitch, which is a beautiful stitch. You can do so much with it. Yep, Valerie says in the UK we call a serger an overlocker. Well, that's really what it is. Totally. All right, so what's different about this machine is that, I'm going to tone this down just a little bit. All right, so I open this up. This one has a motor that pumps your threads through rather than a pump like you saw in the last machine. It also has a sewing table. You can see that's nice and flat, and there's 5 inches of space in there that you can work with. I can take that off, and then I can put my knife cover on. So that's where this one goes. But there I go. And this is what you normally think you're going to see, but you can take this off and you can put your sewing table on and you are ready to sew. You can also get a 29-foot kit for, they're not just feet, they're feet and attachments. So you can see the little screw holes on here. This is where I would put like my belt loop binder or my binding attachment or something like that. So that's what this machine does. If you have any questions, please ask them, okay? I kind of like having both machines in one, but that's my own preference. It doesn't mean that you have to do that. There's also a wave stitch. Now you didn't find this on the cover, on the 4-thread overlock. You won't find that on there. That is only on, you'll find it on the Acclaim and up. But there is a wave stitch. It's a really pretty stitch. Okay, I want to take you over. I want to talk about the different things you can do with each machine. Okay, we talked about just the overlock stitches. And I said I didn't use them for decorative stitches, but look right here, I did. So this is a little prairie point that I... Barbara, do you want me to say the price? I don't sell them. My whole idea is just to inform you about them. So if you want to call your local dealer, then you could, and they would have those prices for you. But I know that they've got some really good deals because April is National Serger Month. So I'm thinking we might even be talking about sergers again. I love the sergers, I really do. So right here I have used the 4-thread overlock as a decorative stitch because I sewed it all down one side of this fabric and then I folded them into prairie points. I also did this ruffle, and I think we've talked about that. So that is a puffing strip that I have, or a ruching strip that I have ruched and put it in my project. And there's another ruching strip. This is a flat lock that you can definitely do on your overlock stitches, and that's the back side of the flat lock. So this is there turned one way and then opened up and turned the other way. This one is simply it looks like a pin tuck. It's really not on this. It might be called a faux pin tuck because that is just a rolled hem. So this whole project was made on the 4-thread overlock. The whole thing was made on that. But you could make that on the Triumph also. This stitch right here, this is a serger crochet, and this is nothing more than a 4-thread overlock with heavier threads in the looper. That's it. And that one is amazing to do. So that is also done on the 4-thread overlock. This one can also be done on the 4-thread overlock. I've got my rolled edge right here, and I have gathered my fabrics. Of course, you can see that I used a sewing machine on parts of this to put some of this together. But on the sergers, you can actually attach the ruffle to the flat piece all in one step, and it finishes the edges. Just that easy. All right, let's move on to what the cover and chain can do. I love this one because when I'm putting a zipper in, I like to use that triple cover stitch. And all I do is that I kind of use a tape to, I fold my fabric over and iron it, so it's got a nice edge on it, and then I tape it down with a double-sided fusible tape. There I go. And all I'm going to do is just stitch that down, and it's already finished on the back side. I really like that. It's my favorite way to put zippers in. Okay, now I want to go to, remember we talked about the wave stitch? There's a wave stitch right there. But what's different about this wave stitch, and this is particular to Baby Lock, there's not another brand that can do this. This is a flat lock wave. That means a wave stitch is normally on the edge of your fabric, so you would go around it, around your table runner or around your blanket or around your placemat, whatever, and that would be an edge stitch. But someone in Australia actually came up with this, a dealer in Australia. They thought, I think I can do a flat lock wave. So she did. And when you take a class at your dealer, they'll be able to teach you how to do that flat lock wave. It's not found in any of the books, which is really sad because they're printed after it was invented. But they can show you how to do that flat lock wave. So that is done on the wave machines. And then this right here, that stitch right there, that is the chain stitch. The one we talked about where you've got one needle and one looper. And you can see I've used heavier threads in this. So this is the back side of the chain where the looper is, because I've used a heavier thread in the looper. This is the front side of the chain. It's a little thinner line. But that one, I love to do that with my decorative stitches. Because we don't have decorative stitches on a serger, but when you think about it, we really do. So this right here, this is the back side of my cover stitch. It is just a 2 needle cover stitch, just a wide, and look what I can do with that. So first I sewed my pieces together. This is just a crazy block. And I sewed my blocks together, and then I turned it over and pressed it, and then I did a cover stitch on the back of it, just like that. And it gave me a beautiful look right there. I really like that one. And my last sample here, this is also the back side of the cover stitch. I think the back side is really almost prettier than the front side. Then once again, I have the flat lock wave in here. And then I have pin tucks, and these are actual pin tucks. So I am using my pin tuck foot, and it just gives that cute little ridge right there. But here's one of the most exciting things to do, is right there, I can put ribbon down with a cover stitch, and it's going to do a top stitch on both sides of the ribbon. Let me grab my foot over here so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. So right here on this foot, I'll move some of this out of the way so you can see. So right there on the foot, there are little channels right there. There's a bigger one and there's a smaller one. There's even a smaller one that goes under the overlock stitches. But that one right there was the one that I used, that little opening in the foot. Can I make that so you can see it easier? Do you see those openings in the feet? Those are where I can feed something down inside and it will stitch it down. So that smaller opening right there is where I put my ribbon down and did a cover stitch over the top of it. And that is blurry. I don't like blurry. That's what I did. And I love to put ribbons down. In fact, you could do a ruffle and right down the center of a fabric. So you want to have a ruffle. And then you can lay a ribbon down with your cover stitch and go over the top of the ruffle, and you won't even see that seam right in the middle of your ruffle. It is so fun to do. Obviously, I'm a serger snob, right? I love them. Does anybody have any questions, or do you use your sergers? Do you use them? Because anything that you well, here's another comparison. You have an Instapot, you have a crock pot, right? And you can cook pretty much the same things in both pots, but you just have to change the recipe a little bit. So anything you can sew, almost, you can use on the serger, and vice versa. So if you have a wonderful project you're trying to do, and you think, how can I make this with the serger? You just have to think about it and figure it out, right? That's all you have to do. Is just change that recipe just a little bit. Maybe not put quite as much water in it, or maybe put more water in it, and you got another recipe, right? Heidi said, my friend used woolly nylon thread in her serger. Have you ever heard of this? I have. I have some woolly nylon. It's one of those crazy threads, okay? It's one of those crazy threads. So in order to thread it in your looper, you'll have to use a thread cradle because the ends go out like this. They don't just shoot down in there, but yes, you can use woolly nylon. It makes a really beautiful rolled hem. And on the rolled hem, you know that you have so many different settings on there from 1 to 4, depending on how thick your thread is. So you may want to have a longer stitch if you've got thicker thread. And woolly nylon is one of those ones that once it's sewn in, it just kind of expands. It's really pretty. I love woolly nylon. Okay, I'm just looking at your comments. I wish I could sell you one, Barbara. I wish I could. But I can't. Debbie, you don't have a serger? Has anybody said, I never want a serger? I mean, some of you are probably going to say that. But until I got it, I didn't want one either, but I am so happy I have it. Any other questions? I got nothing else for you. Although I do have a treat coming up. I'm not quite sure when I'm going to bring it out. I do have a treat coming up. You'll just have to watch and you'll see when I bring it out. Yes, it's something I got in Washington while I was there. Yeah, I'll find the right moment. I know, trying to keep you guessing. Let's see, what else? Oh, tomorrow we have Project on the 10s. Do you know it's already the 10th? We kind of skipped one of them in February because we didn't have a 30th. So we got a little bit of a break. So I have a project tomorrow that I think you're going to like. I've got it all ready to go. We're just going to get up in the morning and we're going to do our project. So if you have any questions before then, if you have a project you want me to do, will you please let me know? And I'll see if I can come up with something for it. All right, I guess I am out of ideas, thoughts, and jokes. I'm going to go check on Bob Barker. That makes me laugh. That really makes me laugh. Whoever thought chickens would bark? Have you, Valerie, you have chickens. Do they bark? Because I got one that does. I should Google that and find out if there's other barking chickens. I guess they all have their own individual sound. We all sound different, right? Why can't they? Well, Bob Barker's calling me. I can hear her out there clucking. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining me. I'm going to leave you with a good look at this serger because I tell you, I love the sergers, and the more I learn about them, the more I play with them, the more I love them. Okay. Valerie says her chickens talk to her. Yes, they do. They do. Mine have been kind of cold, and they don't like the snow so much when it's this deep because they really can't even get out there and walk around. I feel bad for them, but snow isn't melting. It's coming. It is going to come. All right, everybody, I will see you in the morning at 10 o'clock Mountain Time. See you then.